Okay, let's get into this. You know the whole Mount Rushmore idea, right? Like picking the top four, the absolute best in, well, whatever field.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that shorthand for finding the real legends, the ones who, define the whole thing.
Exactly. And today we're applying that to mixed martial arts, to MMA. It's always a hot topic, isn't it? Who's the greatest of all time?
Oh, yeah. That debate never ends online, does it? Everyone's got an opinion.
Totally. But what makes this deep dive kind of different is that we're looking at it through the eyes of, well, one of the guys who's always in that conversation.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, our source is basically Jon Jones talking about his own personal MMA Mount Rushmore.
Oh, interesting. Getting it straight from someone who's actually, competed at that absolute peak level. That's a cool angle.
Right. So our job today is pretty straightforward. We're going to break down Jon Jones's list, the 4 fighters he named, based only on what he said in this conversation we're looking at. And we'll focus on the specific reasons, the accomplishments he actually mentioned for putting them there. No adding our own stuff, just his take from the source.
Got it. Just his reasoning from that specific chat. Keeps it focused.
Exactly. So who made the cut? Who did Jon Jones actually name for his MMA Mount Rushmore?
Okay, so according to him, his list was Demetrious Johnson, Anderson Silva, Georges St-Pierre, and, well, himself, Jon Jones.
Okay, so he put himself on there.
He did. And his justification, pretty simply put, was just that they've all done really great things in this sport.
All right, let's start with Jones himself then, since he included himself. What reasons did he give? What did he highlight about his own career in this context?
Well, looking at what he said, he brought up being the longest reigning light heavyweight champ in UFC history. That was a big one for him.
Right, that reign was legendary. What else?
He also mentioned, moving up recently and winning the heavyweight title. And he specifically pointed out that he's never really been defeated, technically.
Ah, the DQ loss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
His only loss was that disqualification. And he made a point of saying it was in a fight he was dominating anyway.
Okay, so longevity, dominance, crossing weight classes, and that undefeated narrative he mentioned. Yeah, you can see the case he's making for himself there. Who is next on his list? Georges St-Pierre, GSP.
Yep, GSP. For him, Jones highlighted, again, a reign, GSP's time as the longest reigning welterweight champion in the UFC.
The longest reigning welterweight. Okay, so title reign length is definitely a big factor for Jones, seems like.
It really seems to be. And he also noted GSP had 9 title defenses in a row in that division.
9 straight defenses.
Whoa.
Yeah, before he eventually stepped away, came back, and won the middleweight title, too, against Bisping.
Right, right. So, again, long, dominant reign, lots of defenses, and success in another weight class. You can kind of see the pattern in what Jones values based on what he's saying here.
Seems very clear.
Okay, so what about Anderson Silva? Jones actually called Silva his idol in the conversation. Yeah, that was a nice personal touch. When he talked about Silva, Jones specifically brought up the record Silva used to hold for consecutive title defenses in the UFC.
Used to hold, so someone else has it now.
That's right. According to Jones's comments, Silva had the record back then with 10 straight title defenses.
10 defenses, okay. Which, I guess, leads us to the last guy on his list, Demetrious Johnson.
Exactly.
So if Silva had the previous record, what did Jones say about Mighty Mouse?
This is where Jones points to the current standard, I guess. He stated that Demetrious Johnson holds the actual record now for the most consecutive UFC title defenses.
And how many was that?
11. 11 straight defenses.
11. Wow. Okay, so just edging out Silva's 10 based on what Jones highlighted there?
Yep, according to Jones's points.
Yeah.
So, if you connect the dots just based purely on the specific achievements Jones brought up for these 4 guys.
Yeah.
Longest reigns, most consecutive defenses, winning titles in multiple divisions.
Yeah.
His list seems really anchored in those specific, measurable historical stats.
It does put that phrase really great things into context, doesn't it? When you see the specific stats he listed for each guy, the defenses, the reigns.
Yeah, based only on those metrics he mentioned. It's a pretty solid list. It's not just random picks.
He tied them to actual records as he presented them?
Exactly. Concrete achievements.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap. Jon Jones's Mount Rushmore from this conversation. Demetrious Johnson, Anderson Silva, Georges St-Pierre, and Jon Jones.
Right.
And the why he gave focuses on things like most title defenses, DJ with 11, Silva with 10 before him, longest reigns, like Jones at light heavyweight, GSP at welterweight, and winning belts in multiple divisions like Jones and GSP did.
And understanding why a fighter like Jones picks these guys based on the specific data points he chose to emphasize kind of gives you insight into what counts as greatness from his perspective, you know? Looking back at the sport's history.
Yeah, it shows what markers matter to him. So thinking about those specific kinds of achievements Jones brought up and, the number of title defenses, how long someone reigned, moving between weight classes, here's something for you listening to think about.
Okay.
Based on those types of criteria Jones mentioned, what factors do you think are the most important when we talk about the greatest of all time in MMA? Is it the defenses, the longevity, something else entirely? Definitely something to ponder.